Jake Morrison walked through the busy trading station. People from many different planets moved around him. Some had blue skin, others had 4 arms, and a few had tails. This was normal for Kepler-7 station. It was a place where anyone could buy or sell anything. Jake was a cargo ship captain. He carried goods between planets and made enough money to live. His ship was old but strong. He had been doing this job for 10 years. Most of the time, it was boring work. Today felt different. He stopped at a food stand to buy lunch. The alien cook had green skin and 6 eyes. "What do you want today, human?" the cook asked. "Just some meat and bread," Jake said. He paid with credits and took his food. As he ate, he heard loud voices coming from the lower level of the station. Jake was curious. He finished eating and went down the metal stairs. The lower level was darker and smelled bad. This was where people did business they did not want others to see. A crowd had gathered around a small stage. Jake pushed through to see what was happening. On the stage stood a tall alien with red skin and sharp teeth. He was shouting in the common language that most aliens understood. "Look at these beautiful creatures," the red alien said. "They are young and healthy, perfect for housework or factory jobs. Who will pay 50,000 credits?" Jake looked at what the alien was selling. His heart stopped. On the stage were 2 small girls. They had blue skin that seemed to glow softly. Their hair was white like snow. Their eyes were large and silver like coins. They looked scared and held each other's hands tightly. These were not just any aliens. Jake knew what they were. He had seen pictures in news reports. They were Zalani. Their home planet had been destroyed 6 months ago when a mining company made a mistake. Most of their people had died. The few who survived became refugees. The girls looked maybe 15 years old in human terms. They were twins. One had a small scar on her left cheek. The other had a mark like a star on her forehead. Both were shaking with fear. "Do I hear 50,000? The red alien asked again. 60,000! Someone shouted from the crowd. 70,000! Another voice called out. Jake felt sick. These were children, not things to be sold. On most planets, this would be illegal, but Kepler-7 station was in neutral space. Here, the only law was money. He looked around the crowd. Most of the buyers looked mean. They would not treat the girls well. Jake had heard stories about what happened to slaves. He could not let this happen. The bidding continued. 100,000! Someone shouted. 110,000! Came another bid. Jake knew he had to act fast. He had some money saved, but not enough to outbid everyone. He needed a different plan. He remembered the layout of the station from his many visits. There was a service corridor behind the stage. If he could get there, maybe he could help the girls escape. 150,000 credits. A new voice called out. Jake turned to see who it was. A big alien with purple skin was pushing through the crowd. Jake had seen him before. His name was Korath, and he was known for being cruel to his workers. The red alien on stage smiled. Going once, going twice. Jake could not wait any longer. He pushed through the crowd toward the back of the room. People complained as he squeezed past them. He found the door to the service corridor and opened it quietly. The corridor was dark and narrow. Jake used the light on his wrist device to see. He could hear the auction continuing on the other side of the wall. He found the door that led behind the stage. Through a crack in the door, he could see the 2 girls. They were standing close together, still holding hands. Tears ran down their blue faces. The red alien was getting ready to finish the sail. Jake opened the door just enough to squeeze through. The girls saw him and backed away in fear. He held up his hands to show he meant no harm. "I want to help you," he whispered in the common language. He was not sure if they understood. One of the girls, the one with the scar, said something in a language he did not know. Her voice was soft and musical. The other girl pointed at Jake and said something back. Jake heard the red alien say "sold" from the front of the stage. Korath had won the auction. Soon someone would come to collect the girls. Jake pulled out his emergency beacon. It was designed to call for help if his ship was in trouble, but it would also make a very loud alarm sound. He pressed the button. The beacon screamed with noise. Red lights flashed. People in the auction started shouting. Some thought there was a fire. Others thought the station was under attack. Everyone began running in different directions. In the confusion, Jake grabbed both girls by the hand. They did not resist. Maybe they understood he was trying to help them. He led them through the service corridor as fast as they could run. Behind them, he could hear Korath shouting angrily. The red alien was yelling too. But they were lost in the crowd of panicking people. Jake knew the station well. He led the girls through passages that most visitors never saw. They climbed ladders and crawled through maintenance tubes. The girls were breathing hard, but they kept up with him. Finally, they reached the docking bay where Jake's ship was parked. The New Horizon was not pretty, but it was home. Jake opened the airlock and pushed the girls inside. "Computer, seal the ship and prepare for immediate departure," Jake said. "Warning," the computer's voice said. "We do not have clearance to leave. Emergency departure. Authorization Morrison Alpha 7. The ship's engines started up. Jake ran to the pilot's seat and began the launch sequence. Through the window, he could see security guards running toward his ship. They were too late. The New Horizon lifted off and flew away from Kepler 7 station. Jake set course for open space where they would be safe. Only then did he turn to look at the two girls. They were sitting on the floor, still holding hands. They stared at him with their big silver eyes. One of them said something in their language. It sounded like a question. Jake smiled and tried to look friendly. "You are safe now," he said. "No one will hurt you." He was not sure if they understood his words, but something in his voice must have been right. For the first time since he had seen them, the girls stopped looking afraid. 3 days had passed since Jake rescued the twin girls. His ship was now far from Kepler 7 station, floating in empty space between star systems. Jake had turned off all tracking systems so no one could find them. The girls stayed in the cargo bay where Jake had made a place for them to sleep. He had given them blankets and pillows, but they still seemed scared. They whispered to each other in their own language and watched Jake carefully whenever he came near. Jake did not know what to do. He had never taken care of anyone before, especially not alien children. He was a simple cargo hauler, not a parent. But he could not leave them somewhere unsafe. The first problem was food. Jake had tried to give them the same food he ate, but they would not touch it. They just shook their heads and backed away. He realized they might not eat the same things humans did. Jake went to his computer and searched for information about Zilani people. Most of what he found was old reports from before their planet was destroyed. The report said Zilani only ate plants and needed special minerals to stay healthy. "Computer, do we have any fruits or vegetables on board?" Jake asked. "Checking. Food storage," the computer said. "We have dried apples, protein bars with plant matter, and vitamin pills." Jake took some dried apples to the girls. When he held them out, the girl with the star mark on her forehead came closer. She smelled the apples carefully, then took a small bite. Her face lit up with a smile. She said something to her sister, who also tried the apples. For the first time, Jake heard them make happy sounds. They ate all the apples quickly and looked at him with hopeful expressions. "More?" Jake said, pointing to his mouth and making eating motions. The girl with the scar said something that sounded like "more" in their language. Jake smiled and brought them more food. It was not much, but it was a start. The next problem was communication. Jake wanted to help them, but he could not understand what they needed. He remembered his ship had a translation device for talking to alien traders. He had never used it for languages as rare as Zalani. Jake brought the device to the cargo bay. It was a small box with speakers and a screen. He turned it on and set it to learning mode. Then he pointed to himself. "Jake," he said clearly. The girls looked at each other. The one with the scar pointed to herself and said something. The translation device made beeping sounds as it tried to learn. "Kira," the computer said after a moment. Jake smiled and pointed to her. "Kira," he repeated. Kira nodded and pointed to her sister, who said her name. The translator worked again. "Luna," it said. "Kira and Luna," Jake said. "Good names." Over the next few hours, they worked with the translator. Jake learned basic words like yes, no, hungry, and scared. The girls learned safe, friend, and help. It was slow work, but Jake felt they were making progress. Kira seemed braver than her sister. She tried new words and asked questions. Luna was quieter, but she watched everything Jake did with careful attention. On the fourth day, something bad happened. Luna became sick. She lay on her blanket and would not eat. Her blue skin became pale and she felt hot to touch. Kira held her sister's hand and made worried sounds. Jake did not know what to do. He was not a doctor, and he knew nothing about Zalani medicine. He used his ship's communication system to call every medical station he could reach. Most doctors said they could not help without seeing Luna in person. A few tried to give advice, but they admitted they knew little about Zalani health. Finally, Jake reached an old doctor on a research station. The doctor had worked with many alien species. "Zalani are very sensitive to stress," the doctor explained. "When they are frightened or sad for too long, their bodies can shut down. They need to feel safe and loved to get better." "How do I make them feel safe?" Jake asked. "Zalani heal through touch and emotional connection. In their culture, family members stay close to sick people. Physical contact helps them recover." Jake looked at Luna. She was getting worse. Kira was crying and trying to share her body heat with her sister. Jake made a decision. He went to the cargo bay and sat down next to the girls. Kira looked at him with fear and hope mixed in her silver eyes. Jake slowly reached out his hand toward Luna. Kira said something in Zalani. The translator was too far away to hear clearly, but her tone sounded like she was asking a question. Jake spoke softly. "I want to help Luna. Is it okay?" Kira seemed to understand. She took Jake's hand and placed it on Luna's forehead. Luna's skin was very warm and soft. Jake had never touched an alien before, but it felt natural. Something strange happened then. Jake felt a warm feeling flow from Luna into his hand and up his arm. It was like she was sharing her emotions with him. He could feel her fear and sadness, but also a small spark of hope. Jake stayed there for hours, keeping his hand on Luna's head. Kira stayed on the other side, holding her sister's hand. Sometimes Jake felt like both girls were somehow connected to his feelings, too. When he thought calm, peaceful thoughts. They seemed to relax. Slowly, Luna's fever went down. Her breathing became easier. By the next morning, she was sitting up and eating dried fruit again. After Luna got better, things changed between Jake and the girls. They were no longer afraid of him. Sometimes they would sit close to him when he was working on the ship. Kira would ask him questions about buttons and screens. Luna would just watch quietly, but Jake could feel her attention like a warm presence. Jake started teaching them about human things. He showed them how to use the food maker and the cleaning systems. He played music from Earth and laughed when they tried to dance to it. Their movements were graceful and flowing, very different from how humans danced. The girls taught Jake about their people too. They showed him how Zilani could make their skin glow brighter when they were happy. They sang songs in their musical language that made Jake feel peaceful inside. Jake learned that Kira loved learning new things. She wanted to understand how everything worked. Luna was more interested in feelings and emotions. She seemed to know when Jake was tired or worried, even before he realized it himself. One week after the rescue, Jake made an important decision. He could not just drop the girls off somewhere and hope for the best. They had no family left and no home to return to. Most places in the galaxy would not know how to care for Zilani children. Jake called up star charts on his main computer. Kira and Luna came to see what he was doing. "We need to find a new home," Jake said slowly, using simple words the translator could handle. "Somewhere safe for all of us," Kira translated for Luna. They talked together in rapid Zilani. Then Kira spoke to the translator. "We stay with Jake?" The computer said in its mechanical voice. "If you want to," Jake said. "I will take care of you." Both girls smiled. Luna reached out and touched Jake's hand. Again, he felt that warm connection. But this time, it was not sadness or fear. It was something that felt like family. Jake began making plans. He would need to change his whole life. His ship would need to become a real home. He would need to learn more about Zilani culture and needs. It would not be easy. But as he looked at Kira and Luna, Jake knew he was making the right choice. They were not just refugees anymore. They were his responsibility. Maybe, if he was lucky, they could become something even more important than that. 2 months had passed since Jake rescued Kira and Luna. His cargo ship looked very different now. The cold metal walls were covered with soft fabric in colors the girls liked. Plants grew in small pots along the windows. The air smelled like the flowers Zilani people loved. Jake had sold most of his cargo space to make room for proper living areas. He built separate sleeping rooms for the girls and changed the air system to keep the temperature warm the way they needed it. His ship was no longer just for business. It was a home. The girls had grown more comfortable with their new life. Kira spent hours learning how Jake's ship worked. She was very good with energy systems and could fix problems Jake could not understand. Luna was quieter, but she had a special gift for knowing when something was wrong with the ship's computer before any alarms went off. Jake was learning their language faster now. The translator helped, but he found he could understand their emotions even without words. When Kira was excited about something, her skin glowed brighter. When Luna was sad, Jake felt it like a cold spot in his chest. One morning, Jake was drinking coffee and reading news reports when an alert came through his communication system. He almost dropped his cup when he saw the message. "Attention all ships. Be watching for stolen Zilani refugees. 2 female children taken from legal sale at Kepler 7. Reward of 500,000 credits for information leading to their return." Jake's hands shook as he read. Someone was still looking for the girls. The message did not say who had posted the reward, but Jake could guess. It was probably Korath, the purple alien who had bought them at the auction. Jake deleted the message quickly, but he knew others would see it. 500,000 credits was enough money to make people very interested in finding two Zilani girls. Kira came into the main room carrying a small plant she was taking care of. She saw Jake's worried face and set the plant down carefully. "Problem?" she asked in the simple English she was learning. Jake did not want to scare her, but she needed to know they might be in danger. He showed her the message and used the translator to explain what it meant. Kira's skin became pale. She called for Luna, who came running from her room. They talked quickly in Zilani, their voices getting higher with fear. "We go back?" Luna asked, through the translator. "No," Jake said firmly. "No one will take you anywhere you do not want to go." But Jake knew they needed to be more careful. He could not use normal space routes anymore. He would have to travel through areas where few people went. It would take longer to get places, and it would be more dangerous. Jake decided they needed a safe place to stay while he figured out what to do next. He remembered hearing about a planet called Haven's Rest. It was far from the main trade routes, and had a reputation for helping people who needed to hide. The trip to Haven's Rest took 3 weeks. Jake avoided all the busy space stations and trading posts. They flew through asteroid fields and empty systems where no one would look for them. During the journey, Jake noticed something strange happening. Sometimes when Kira and Luna were working together on ship repairs, lights would flicker in unusual ways. Once, when they were both touching a broken sensor at the same time, it started working again, even though Jake could not find what had been wrong with it. "How did you fix that?" Jake asked them. The girls looked at each other. Kira spoke carefully, using the translator. "Zilani can feel energy," the machine said in its flat voice. "We can make it flow better sometimes." Jake realized the girls had abilities he did not understand. Maybe this was why someone wanted them back so badly. Zilani, who could work with energy systems, would be very valuable to the wrong people. When they finally reached Haven's Rest, Jake was relieved to see it was as described. The planet was covered with forests and small towns. There were humans here, but also many different alien species. Everyone seemed to mind their own business. Jake landed his ship at a small spaceport outside a town called Greenview. The portmaster was a friendly human woman named Lisa Cole. "What brings you to Haven's Rest?" she asked. "Looking for a quiet place to settle down," Jake said. "I have 2 daughters who need a safe home." Lisa looked through the ship's window and saw Kira and Luna. Her expression became understanding. "Refugees?" she asked quietly. Jake nodded. Lisa smiled. "You came to the right place. Haven's Rest has a policy of not asking too many questions about people's past. As long as you follow our laws and do not cause trouble, you are welcome here." Jake rented a small house on the edge of Greenview. It had a big yard where the girls could grow the plants they missed from their home world. There was a good school, where they could learn about other cultures while keeping their own traditions. The first few weeks in the house were wonderful. Kira and Luna had their own rooms for the first time since Jake rescued them. They painted the walls with soft blue and silver colors that reminded them of their lost home. Jake learned to cook the vegetable dishes they loved, but Jake still worried about the reward message. He kept his ship ready for a quick escape and always carried a weapon when he went to town. His worries proved right when a stranger came to Greenview asking questions about Zilani refugees. The man was tall and thin with cybernetic implants covering half his face. He called himself Vex and claimed to be a private investigator. Jake heard about Vex from Lisa, who did not trust the stranger. "He is showing pictures of two blue-skinned girls," she told Jake. "Says he is looking for them on behalf of their worried family. But something about him feels wrong." Jake knew Vex was not there to help. He was probably a bounty hunter sent by whoever had posted the reward. Jake had to make a hard choice. That night, he sat down with Kira and Luna to explain the situation. "Someone dangerous is looking for you," he told them. "We might have to leave this place." Luna started crying. She had just started making friends at school. Kira put her arm around her sister and spoke angrily in Zalani. "Why do bad people not leave us alone?" the translator said. Jake felt helpless. These girls had lost everything once already. Now they might have to run again. But he would not let anyone hurt them. "I have an idea," Jake said. "But you will have to trust me." Jake spent the next day preparing. He moved his ship to a different landing pad and filed a flight plan for a distant system. He wanted anyone watching to think they were leaving Haven's Rest. But that was just a trick. Jake knew secret paths through the forest around Greenview. That night, he moved Kira and Luna to a hidden cabin deep in the woods. It belonged to an old friend who asked no questions. The next morning, Vex came to Jake's house. Jake was waiting for him. "I hear you are looking for someone," Jake said. Vex smiled coldly. "Two Zalani girls. I know you have them. Where are they?" "I do not know what you are talking about," Jake lied. Vex pulled out a scanner and pointed it at Jake. "This device can tell when someone is lying. Try again." Jake had expected this. He had prepared a different answer that was technically true. The eye. "Girls you are looking for left Haven's Rest yesterday. They are not here anymore." The scanner stayed quiet. Vex frowned but could not argue with his own machine. "Where did they go?" Vex demanded. "I do not know," Jake said. This was also true. He had not told the girls exactly where the cabin was located. Vex searched Jake's house and found nothing. He checked the spaceport and confirmed that Jake's ship had left. After 3 more days of looking, Vex gave up and left Haven's Rest. Jake waited another week to make sure Vex was really gone. Then he brought Kira and Luna back to their house. They were happy to be home, but Jake could see the experience had scared them. "Will we always have to run?" Kira asked. Jake looked at both girls. They had become like real daughters to him. The thought of anyone hurting them made him angry. "No," he said. "We will find a way to make you truly safe, I promise." Jake did not know how he would keep that promise, but he knew he would never stop trying. Kira and Luna were his family now, and he would protect them no matter what it cost. 6 months had passed since Vex's visit to Haven's Rest. Jake thought they were finally safe. Kira and Luna were doing well in school and had made several friends. Jake had started a small repair business fixing ships that landed at the local spaceport. Life felt normal for the first time, but Jake was wrong about being safe. The attack came at dawn on a quiet Tuesday morning. Jake woke up to the sound of his security alarm screaming. Through his bedroom window, he could see 3 armed ships landing in his yard. Men in black armor were jumping out and surrounding his house. Jake grabbed his pistol and ran to the girls' rooms. Kira and Luna were already awake, holding each other in fear. "Get to the basement," Jake told them. "Use the tunnel I showed you. Get to the ship." Jake had built an escape tunnel months ago, just in case this day came. It led from his basement to a hidden spot near where he kept his ship. "What about you?" Kira asked in English. Her voice was shaking. "I will slow them down and follow you," Jake said. "Go now." The girls ran to the basement while Jake took position by the front door. Through the window, he could see at least 10 armed men getting ready to attack his house. These were not local police. They moved like military soldiers. The front door exploded inward. Jake fired his pistol at the first man through the door. His shot hit the attacker in the shoulder, but the man's armor protected him. More soldiers rushed in behind him. Jake ran toward the back of the house, firing as he went. He needed to give Kira and Luna time to escape. The soldiers chased him through his living room, their heavy boots breaking his furniture. Jake reached the kitchen and dove behind the counter as laser shots burned the air above his head. He could hear the soldiers talking to each other through their helmet radios. "Target not in bedrooms," one voice said. "Check the basement," another replied. Jake's heart raced. If they found the tunnel, the girls would be trapped. He stood up and fired at the soldiers again, trying to keep their attention on him. But there were too many of them. Something hit Jake in the back, and he felt electricity shoot through his body. A stun weapon. His muscles stopped working, and he fell to the floor. The soldiers surrounded him. One of them pulled off his helmet. It was Vex, the bounty hunter who had come looking for the girls before. "Hello again, Jake Morrison," Vex said with an evil smile. "This time I came prepared." "The girls are gone," Jake said through gritted teeth. His body was still numb from the stun weapon. "I do not think so," Vex replied. "My sensors show 3 life forms in this house when we arrived. 2 of them have Zalani genetic markers." Vex pointed at 2 of his men. "Find them." Jake tried to get up, but his muscles would not obey. He could only watch as the soldiers searched his house. It would not take them long to find the basement entrance. Then something strange happened. The lights in Jake's house began to flicker. The soldiers' helmet radios started making static sounds. Even Vex's scanner began showing wrong readings. "What is that?" one soldier asked. Vex looked at his equipment with confusion. "Some kind of electromagnetic interference?" Jake felt a warm sensation in his chest. It was the same feeling he got when Kira and Luna were using their special abilities. The girls were still in the house, but they were doing something to confuse the electronic equipment. The interference got stronger. Light bulbs exploded. The soldiers' armor systems began shutting down. In the confusion, Jake felt strength returning to his body. Vex realized what was happening. "It is the Zalani girls. They are interfering with our systems. Find them now." Jake rolled behind a fallen table and grabbed his pistol. Without their electronic aids, the soldiers were not as dangerous. Jake shot out the remaining lights, plunging the house into darkness. In the dark, Jake had an advantage. He knew every corner of his house. The soldiers stumbled around, bumping into furniture and each other. Jake heard a noise from the basement. The girls were still down there. He had to reach them before the soldiers did. Jake crawled through his kitchen toward the basement door. Behind him, he could hear Vex shouting orders at his men. Some of them had found emergency lights, but the electronic interference was still making their equipment work badly. Jake reached the basement stairs and crept down quietly. At the bottom, he found Kira and Luna hiding behind his workbench. They were holding hands, and Jake could see energy flowing between them like small lightning bolts. "Why did you not leave?" Jake whispered. "Could not leave you," Kira said. "We are family." Jake felt proud and scared at the same time. The girls had risked their safety to help him, but now they were all trapped. Heavy footsteps came down the basement stairs. The soldiers had found them. "Surrender now," Vex called out. "You cannot escape." Jake looked around the basement for anything that could help them. His eyes fell on the power box that controlled electricity for the whole house. If the girls could overload it somehow, maybe they could create enough confusion to escape. "Can you make that box explode?" Jake asked the girls quietly. Kira and Luna looked at the power box. They spoke to each other in rapid Zalani. "Very dangerous," Luna said through their translator device. "Could hurt us." "We have to try," Jake said. The girls nodded. They moved toward the power box while Jake got ready to run for the tunnel entrance. Vex and his soldiers reached the bottom of the stairs. They turned on bright lights that lit up the whole basement. "There they are!" Vex shouted. At that moment, Kira and Luna touched the power box at the same time. Jake felt the air fill with energy. Every hair on his body stood up. The power box did not just explode, it released all the electricity in the house at once. Lightning shot out in all directions. The soldiers' armor systems overloaded and shut down completely. Even their emergency lights went out. But something else happened, too. The energy feedback hit Kira and Luna like a wave. Both girls screamed and fell to the ground. In the darkness that followed, Jake could hear the soldiers shouting in confusion. Their equipment was completely dead. Some of them were calling for help on radios that no longer worked. Jake crawled to where the girls had fallen. He found them unconscious but breathing. Their skin was glowing brighter than he had ever seen before. Jake picked up Luna and told Kira to follow him. She was weak, but could still walk. They made their way to the tunnel entrance while the soldiers stumbled around in the dark. The tunnel was narrow and uncomfortable, but it led them safely away from the house. Jake carried Luna most of the way while Kira walked behind them, still, dizzy from using so much energy. They emerged near Jake's ship 20 minutes later. Jake could see lights and hear voices back at his house, but no one had followed them through the tunnel. Jake got the girls onto his ship and started the engines quickly. As they lifted off from Haven's Rest, he could see smoke rising from his house. The electrical explosion had started a fire. "I am sorry about your home," Kira said weakly. "Houses can be replaced," Jake told her. "People cannot." As they flew away from the planet, Jake realized something important had changed. The girls had shown abilities far beyond what he had imagined. They could control electrical systems in ways that seemed impossible. That explained why people like Vex wanted them so badly. Kira and Luna were not just refugees. They had powers that could be worth millions of credits to the right buyer. Jake set course for deep space while the girls rested. He needed time to think and plan. Vex would not give up after this failure. He would come back with better equipment and more men. Jake looked at Kira and Luna sleeping in their seats. They looked so young and peaceful. But he had seen what they could do when they worked together. Maybe they were not as helpless as he had thought. For the first time since the rescue at Kepler 7, Jake wondered if he was protecting the girls or if they were protecting him. Either way, they were family now. And families stick together no matter what dangers they face. 3 weeks after escaping from Haven's Rest, Jake's ship floated in empty space near a dead star system. He had been running calculations and making plans while Kira and Luna recovered from their fight with Vex. The girls were stronger now. Their abilities together had somehow made their powers grow. They could do things with the ship's systems that amazed Jake. They fixed problems by touching broken parts. They made the engines run more efficiently. They even improved the life support systems. But Jake knew they could not run forever. Vex would keep chasing them, and there would always be others who wanted to use the girls for their abilities. Jake needed a permanent solution. "I have an idea," Jake told the girls over breakfast. But it is dangerous. More dangerous than hiding forever? Kira asked. She had gotten much better at speaking English. Maybe, Jake admitted. But if it works, we will never have to run again. Jake explained his plan. Instead of running from Vex, they would face him. But not in a fair fight. Jake would use Vex's greed against him. Jake sent a message through secret channels that bounty hunters used. He told Vex that he was ready to make a deal. He would trade the girls for enough money to disappear forever. They should meet at a mining station in the Omega system. You want to give us away? Luna asked. She sounded hurt. No, Jake said quickly. I want to trick him, but I need you to trust me completely. Jake spent days preparing for the meeting. He studied the layout of the mining station and planned every detail. The girls helped by using their abilities to modify his ship's systems in ways that would surprise Vex. The mining station was old and mostly empty. Only a few miners still worked there, digging for rare metals deep inside an asteroid. It was a good place for a secret meeting. Jake's ship docked at the station right on time. Vex was waiting with only 2 other men. He was being careful, but not careful enough. Where are the girls? Vex asked when Jake met him in the station's main corridor. Safe, Jake said. Where is my money? Vex held up a credit chip. 5 million credits, more than enough for you to live well on some distant planet. Jake pretended to think about it. I want to see the money transferred first. I want to see the girls first, Vex replied. Jake nodded as if he had expected this. They are on my ship, but I warn you, they are scared. If you frighten them, they might do something dangerous with their abilities. This was exactly what Jake wanted Vex to think. Jake led the bounty hunter and his men back to his ship. In the cargo bay, Kira and Luna were sitting quietly with their hands tied behind their backs. They looked defeated and scared. Perfect, Vex said. They look properly broken. Jake felt angry at hearing Vex talk about the girls that way, but he kept his face calm. The money? He asked. Vex started to transfer the credits to Jake's account. While he was distracted, Jake gave a small signal to the girls. They had practiced this many times. Kira and Luna began to glow softly. Their skin became brighter and brighter until it was hard to look at them directly. What are they doing? One of Vex's men asked nervously. It is normal, Jake lied. They glow when they are upset. But the glow kept getting stronger. Soon it was like having 2 small suns in the cargo bay. Vex and his men had to cover their eyes. Make them stop, Vex shouted. I cannot, Jake said. When they get like this, they have to burn out the energy naturally. What Vex did not know was that the girls were not just glowing. They were overloading every electronic system on his ship. Jake's ship was protected by special shielding the girls had created, but Vex's ship was not. Alarms started going off throughout the station. The lights flickered and went out. Emergency power came on, but it was weak and unstable. My ship! Vex ran toward the docking bay where he had left his vessel. Jake and his men followed. When they reached Vex's ship, smoke was pouring from the engines. The control systems were completely dead. The ship would never fly again. You tricked me! Vex snarled at Jake. Yes, Jake said. He was no longer pretending to be friendly. And now you are stuck here with no way to call for help. Jake pulled out his pistol and pointed it at Vex. The station's communication system is also broken. You will be here for weeks before anyone finds you. Vex reached for his own weapon, but Kira and Luna appeared behind him. Their hands were no longer tied, and they were still glowing with energy. When they touched Vex's armor, It shut down completely. "You cannot do this," Vex said. "I have powerful friends. They will come looking for me." "Maybe," Jake said, "but they will not find you. And when they do, you will have a choice. Leave us alone, or face the same thing that happened to your ship." Jake took the credit chip from Vex and checked it. 5 million credits. More money than Jake had ever seen. "This should pay for a lot of legal fees," Jake said. Jake left Vex and his men on the dead mining station. The miners who still worked there were not friendly to bounty hunters. Vex would be uncomfortable, but he would survive until someone came looking for him. Jake's ship flew to the nearest major starport. There, Jake hired the best lawyer money could buy. Her name was Amanda Ross, and she specialized in helping refugees. "I want legal custody of these girls," Jake told her, "and I want it official so no one can ever question it again." Amanda looked at Kira and Luna, who were sitting quietly in her office. They were wearing nice clothes Jake had bought them and looked like normal children instead of refugees. "Are you sure this is what you want?" Amanda asked the girls. "This man is not your biological family." "He is our family," Kira said clearly. "He saved us. He takes care of us. We choose him." Amanda smiled. "That is good enough for me." The legal process took several months, but Amanda was very good at her job. She found laws that protected refugee children and rules that allowed humans to adopt alien minors. She also used some of Vex's money to make donations to the right officials. In the end, Jake became the legal guardian of Kira and Luna. No one could take them away from him now, no matter how much money they offered. With the legal problem solved, Jake looked for a new place to live. He found a beautiful planet called New Eden on the edge of explored space. It had good schools, friendly people, and laws that protected privacy. Jake bought a house near a small city. It had a big yard where the girls could grow their plants and practice their abilities safely. The house was larger than Jake's old place, with rooms for everyone and space for the family to grow. Kira and Luna loved their new home. They went to school and made friends with human and alien children. They learned about many different cultures while keeping their own traditions alive. Jake started a new business repairing and upgrading spacecraft. With Kira and Luna's help, he could fix problems that other mechanics could not solve. Word spread quickly about the amazing work they did, and customers came from other star systems. The girls used their abilities to help other people too. When the local hospital had problems with their medical equipment, Kira and Luna fixed it for free. When the city's power grid failed during a storm, they helped restore electricity to the whole area. People began to see that Zalani abilities could be used to help rather than harm. Other alien refugees heard about New Eden and came looking for safe homes. Jake and his daughters helped many of them start new lives. Years passed peacefully. Kira grew up to become an engineer who designed new kinds of energy systems. Luna became a counselor who helped traumatized refugees heal from their experiences. Both stayed close to Jake and visited him often. Jake never married, but he was not lonely. He had 2 daughters who loved him and a community that respected him. He had found something more valuable than all the credits in the galaxy. On Jake's 60th birthday, Kira and Luna threw him a party. Friends came from all over the planet to celebrate. There were humans, Zalani refugees, and dozens of other alien species who had found homes on New Eden. As Jake looked around at all the people who had become his extended family, he remembered the scared little girls he had rescued from the auction, block so many years ago. He had saved them, but in many ways, They had saved him too. Late that night, after the guests had gone home, Jake sat on his porch with Kira and Luna. They were grown women now, but they still liked to spend quiet time with their adoptive father. "Do you ever regret it?" Kira asked. "Giving up your old life for us?" Jake looked at his daughters and smiled. "Best decision I ever made," he said. Luna took his hand. Even after all these years, Jake could still feel the warm connection that Zalani shared with people they loved. "Thank you," she said, "for everything." Jake squeezed her hand gently. "Thank you for letting me be your father." They sat together under the stars, three beings from different worlds who had become a family. Around them, New Eden slept peacefully, a place where anyone could find a home if they were willing to accept others with open hearts. Jake had learned that the most important thing in the universe was not money or power or even safety. It was the love that connects all living beings no matter where they come from or what they look like. And that was something worth protecting forever.